Welcome. My name is Grandma Storm. I write stories for young adults. Today I am reading chapters 6 through 10 in my book, 146 BC. Chapter 6. Rin could not understand, but this is what was said. She makes noise like a goose, that one, laughed Nkosi. Aye, the clumsy thief alarmed our bird and sent her singing, agreed Barak. Yes, laughed Nkosi, our little songbird saved our lives. But now we are lost upon the northern waters. We buried your noble brother. What is your plan, my master? Normally, I would not trust this piece of junk in a pond, said Barak. But it has saved us thus far from mutineers and thieving farmers. The further south we sail, the more likely we will be to find friends. Until then, we will trade for food and drink. My bag of silver is still heavy. What about the girl? Rin knew by their glances they were talking about her. We can sell her if the bag of silver grows light, but the farther south we travel, the more she is worth. Her eyes are incredible. Never have I seen bluer. That alone will ensure her as an ornament in a fine Carthaginian home. I do not believe she is an idiot. If you can teach her some of our speech, she will be worth even more. That is when Rin's education began. Nkosi would point at an object and make Rin repeat. Water, sun, and sky were added to bread, fish, and wine. Boat, oar, and wood were paired with sea, waves, and trees. She had a quick mind and soon learned basics of the Punic tongue of Carthage. She also learned escape was impossible. When they landed on shore, she was always tethered to Nkosi. If they traded, the natives' interest lay with the silver coin, not with her. Since Nkosi never slept until Barak took the watch, there was no escaping their eyes. They did not know she harbored a knife in her belt. If they knew, they would have taken it from her. However, she had no intention of pulling it on them. They were heavily armed with sword and dagger. Still, if she were forced to defend herself, she would not hesitate. The further from Rin's home they sailed, the less she resisted their commands. As she saw them day and night, they appeared less strange to her eyes. As she learned more of their words, she came to understand what they talked about. Understanding comes before speaking, so it was with Rin as she learned their tongue. Halting strings of words led to simple sentences. As Nkosi manned the sail and Barak scanned the shoreline for a harbor for the night, Rin decided to speak the only word that mattered to her. Home, spoke Rin in Punic. Want home, she repeated. No, replied Nkosi. You are going to Carthage. Carthage? The great city of Dido and Hannibal. There you will be sold. Sold? With his hands, Nkosi pantomimed counting coins, jabbed his finger at Rin, then yanked the rope around her neck. Sold, Nkosi repeated. Rin tried to comprehend what sold meant. Work, said Nkosi. You will work for a great house or small, whoever will buy you. Trade, coin. Yes. Then she understood. Had Freya abandoned her? Was she so far from home that a different god now ruled her fate? Tears streamed down her face. More, far, would she ever see them again? Was a life of slavery worth living? At that moment, if she had not been tied to the boat, she would have thrown herself into the sea. Nkosi tugged on her rope. I am a slave. My master is Lord Barak. I was a gift to him on his 15th birthday. We have been through many adventures together. Maybe you will get such a master. He is from a noble family. I belong to his house and am proud. There had been slaves at home, remembered Rin, lazy half-wits that were beaten if they did not work. They lived with the animals, were given husks and bones, and never combed their beards. Would that be her fate, to live among animals and be beaten? At home, she was the eldest of the family of Skarin. If she had not fallen into the hands of the Yellowbeard, her fate was to marry and raise a family of her own. That life was gone. What lay before her was unknown. Confusion and despair conquered her mind, and salty tears flowed. Rin, drying her tears, she looked at Nkosi as he adjusted the sail. Obey. Learn. You can be owned by a great lord too. Life can be good. Then, that was the best she could hope for. If that was the best, she would work for that. Freya, oh Freya, breathed Rin, if you could no longer protect me, lead me to the God that can. Chapter 7. Rin sat in the boat alone, watching Nkosi and Barak trade with the natives on shore. 3 days ago, she told Nkosi she would no longer run, but would be a good slave like him. He could remove the rope from around her neck. Barak overheard and told Nkosi they would try her. Nkosi cut the rope. Nkosi handed Rin a sack and a basket of food. She stowed it as instructed. Barak got in, and Nkosi shoved the boat into the water. The day's sailing was fair. The winds steadily grew warmer. Rin was the first to see the ship. Nkosi, look! He looked where she pointed. Lord Barak, there is a ship on the horizon. I see it. We will watch and see what city it claims. Nkosi recognized the markings first. The ship was from Cartagena, a prosperous colony of Carthage in Iberia. That ship must be heading for Burdigala, reasoned Barak, a proper port. None of these poor excuses for Gaulish hospitality. Good food and good drink. We will go ashore there. Then we will see what aid our friends will offer, or at least what berth my silver can buy. If I can book passage, I will sell the boat and the girl. I thought you wanted to sell her in Carthage. I changed my mind. I think she would be more trouble than she is worth. On board a ship with sailors that haven't seen a young woman in months? No, it is better she be sold here. I will take what profit I can. The next night, they made port in Burdigala. Nkosi tied the boat to the wharf and told Rin to remain on board. Then he and Barak walked away. She was glad to watch the town from familiar shelter of the boat. There were strange buildings, ships, sights, and sounds. Men shouted, laughed, and greeted one another in a host of different tongues. Bits and pieces of words came to her ear with understanding, but most meant nothing to her at all. She was falling asleep when footfalls on the dock startled her. The black sky was lit with bright stars as low voices came to her ear. Not moving, Rin looked up to see strange men silhouetted against the starry host. They will be alone when they return, said one in the Punic tongue. No doubt they will be unsteady on their feet from too much wine. Easy, pray. We will slit their throats, relieve that noble of his bag of silver, dump their bodies in the water, take the boat, and head out to sea. By dawn, we will be well away from here. Sounds good to me, whispered another. I am tired of this place anyway. A boat and silver will get us a new start in a new place. Like I said, I'm in, mumbled a third voice. Just as long as we divide the silver fair. You'll get your portion, growled the first voice, if you do your share of the work. There was shuffling as the men concealed themselves amongst the goods on the dock. Then silence. Rin did not understand all she heard, but she knew enough to draw her knife from her belt. Sleep was forgotten as she waited for the return of Nkosi and Barak. The night wore on. Rin struggled to stay awake. Then men stepped onto the wharf, walking toward her. She waited to discover who they were. At the market tomorrow, she heard Barak say, we will sell the girl, the boat, and be off. The master of the Carthaginian ship said, for the right price, he would find a berth for us. So, I say, we are well done with this northern adventure. There was nothing but loss, and 3 murderous thieves jumped to their feet. Rin screamed. The split-second warning was all that was needed. Swords were drawn as the thugs rushed forward. While Nkosi slit 2 throats with a single swing, Barak dispatched the third with a sword thrust into a yielding belly. The thieves were dead before Rin could draw a second breath. Nkosi and Barak were not the ones dumped in the harbor that night. With shaking hands, Rin tucked her knife back into her belt. Little bird, said Nkosi as he climbed into the boat, your song saved us again. I'll book passage for 3, grinned Barak. You, me, and our songbird. I can't seem to live without her. Chapter 8. Rin was surrounded with the cargo of a merchant vessel and was regarded as one of the goods being shipped. She had the sky and sea to watch, and food and drink, when Nkosi remembered. The shipmaster agreed to host Barak and his African, but he was not keen on taking a slave girl. That would cost extra. A price was negotiated, and the ship left Berdagala the next morning. No notice was taken of the 3 would-be robbers' dead bodies floating in the harbor. It was a common enough sight. Rin learned the cadence of the ship as it made its way over the sea. She listened to the voices of the master and his mates as they ordered the crew. Thoughts of home filled her lonely hours. Tears came, but with them, soft memories of more singing lullabies to Rin's lips took up the gentle melody. One song led to another. She did not know. Barak heard her. Ah, observed Barak to himself, my little bird sings a pretty song, and not just a wild squawk. The following evening, Rin was surprised when she was called before the shipmaster by Barak. The men sat with a cup of wine in their hands and the warm sun at their back. Sing, commanded Barak. Hesitantly, with a quaver, Rin began a lullaby in her native tongue. She gathered her courage and lifted her voice. Her blue eyes looked out over the sea, and she sang of home. Tears flowed, but they only added to the beauty of the song. Barak lifted his heavy brows. His little bird was increasing in value. At the next port, he would have her bathed and properly dressed. He would remind Nkosi to continue her lessons in Punic. Rin did not know the names of the ports, but she watched the crew haul goods on and off the ship. The shipmaster negotiated, the silver coin flowed, the ship sailed on. Nkosi was sitting by her as the ship came in view of 2 mountains of rock, one to the north, one to the south. The color of the water changed, and the wind shifted. See the great rock? Asked Nkosi as he pointed. Yes, answered Rin. They are called the Pillars of Hercules. A god-man did that, continued Nicosi with the air of one with superior knowledge. He pushed the land apart, joining the two great waters. Because of Hercules, the Carthaginians can sail farther than any people of the world for trade and profit. I don't understand. Rin, listen to wise Nicosi. I have learned much from Lord Barak. He learned it from his tutor, an old Greek. It is the story of Hercules. Hercules? Hercules lived long ago. He was a great man, son of a god. He performed many labors. One was to kill a three-headed man that lived on that land you see. The earth was joined then, but Hercules split it, killed the monster, and stole his cattle. The pillars stand as testimony to his great strength. My goddess is Freya. She has a cloak of falcon feathers and rides a wild boar. She is the Gafrin, the giver, the goddess of plenty. Every time I have asked her, she has helped me, that is, except for letting me go home. That is what she wanted to say, but her broken Punic would only allow her to say, my God, Freya, home, what home? I know nothing of this, Freya, said Nicosi with a shrug. Perhaps you need a new god in a new place. At any rate, except you will never go home. No god is powerful enough to undo what is done. Rin nodded, yet a tear slid down her cheek. Listen, Rin, when we reach the port of Malacca, Lord Barak directs me to take you to the baths. You are to be made ready for the sails at either Cartagena or Carthage, whichever he deems best. Take the advice of an old slave. Do as you are bid. It will go better for you. Resist, and you will find yourself at the mercy of whips and chains, or worse. Rin gazed at the sea. Through tears, she saw the passage of the pillars of Hercules. What fate lay before her, only Freya, or maybe another god, could know. Chapter 9. The port of Malacca was nestled under the protection of high, sloping hills. The sea was calm and the landing of the cargo ship easy. Rin followed Nicosi down the ship's ramp and onto the dock. The wide wharf was packed with warehouses and shops. Men shouted, men laughed, men argued. Prices were negotiated, deals were made, deliveries were discussed. A dozen different languages flowed at once. Rin stumbled along, open-mouthed as she gazed at marble temples, grand villas, and city apartments. She would have run right into people if Nicosi was not holding her by the hand. A black African with a Nordic girl was not a common sight. People gawked. They stopped before a low door. Nicosi pushed his way in, pulling Rin along. Women stood about in various stages of dress. Steam rose from a wide pool of water. Women's voices murmured in the air. Nicosi kept his eyes to his business as a black-haired woman in a flowing white gown approached him. How may I serve you? I am Nicosi, servant to my Lord Barak. This slave girl is to be bathed and dressed in a decent garment. I will call for her later. Here is payment. With that, he was gone. Rin looked into the woman's brown eyes and saw kindness. Child, have you ever had a bath before? What is a bath? Rin asked, her eyes falling from the kind face to her own dirty feet. Did you wash in the river at home? Sometimes. Your master gave me 10 silver coins. That will pay for quite a luxurious beauty treatment and new garments. The woman touched Rin's chin, lifting her eyes to meet hers. The woman smiled. This was the first human warmth, the first woman's touch, since Rin was stolen from her home. Rin's chin trembled and her eyes filled with tears. She cast her gaze down to hide her face. It is good you have come to me. I am a slave to the master of these baths. I too was taken from my home when but a girl. I understand how all is strange. Please call me Mata. Mata took Rin by the hand and led her to the pool of water. See how these women soak in the pool. The water is warm and cleanses the skin, explained Mata. They allow the water to flow through the hair. It relaxes the mind. They walked to another room. Women lay on benches. Slaves massage fragrant oils into legs and backs. This does not hurt. Rather, it is refreshing to the muscles and healing to the body. Mata, still holding Rin's hand, took her to a third room. There, women were having their hair combed and braided. Gentle laughter scented the air along with happy chatter. Servants offered trays of food and drink to the women. Mata noted Rin's hungry eyes following the trays. My dear, said Mata, letting go of Rin's hand and lifting her chin to look into the girl's eyes. What is your name? Rin. Sit here, Rin. I see you are hungry. With a gesture from Mata, a tray was brought of fruits and breads. A small goblet of wine was offered to Rin. She greedily stuffed bread in her mouth and downed the wine in a gulp. Mata stopped Rin's hand as she reached for grapes. No, no, my dear, chided Mata. You are no longer a barbarian, but a slave of a noble family. I knew your manners would be rough. I excuse your ignorance of civilized ways. But watch and learn. See that woman there? See how she breaks the bread and sips the wine. Note this woman, how she sits, and that one, how she walks. Listen to an old slave. The more you value yourself, the more others will value you. Now, Rin, you have seen what the baths are about. Shall we begin? Rin nodded. Then she thought of the knife hidden in her belt. All the women removed their garments to get in the water. She would be forced to lay aside her only defense. Should she trust Mata with the secret? Rin decided to show the older woman her knife. Mata, I must keep the knife, said Rin in halting Punic. To Rin's surprise, Mata looked at her and smiled. Every wise woman knows how to defend herself. With that comment, Mata lifted a fold of her gown. Strapped to her waist was a short dagger. The streets are dangerous, my dear. Do not worry. Your knife will be restored to you after the bath. I must add, your clothing will not. Rin's blue eyes grew wide. Mata's response was a light-hearted smile. Oh, so silly of me. Mata would not allow you to go into the streets naked. Lord Barak has ordered new clothing for you. I remembered his slave used the word decent. I think we can do better than that. I have one more room to show you. It is my master's shop. Mata took Rin by the hand and led her into a world of color. Rin's eyes were dazzled by the rainbow of fabrics draped about the shop. Yellow, blue, red, and green, along with the warmth of brown and cream, welcomed the touch of Rin's fingers. She had spent many hours weaving rough wool cloth for her family, but never dreamed of fabrics so fine and soft. Rin marveled at the delicacy of the thread and the intricacy of the decoration. Jewels, silver chains, clasps of gold, glass beads, and bright stones were also offered for sale. Rin pointed at a brooch of a silver bird. It was so lifelike, she almost expected it to sing. Looking to Mata, Rin smiled. realizing she had not smiled since the morning of Un's disappearance. Mata spoke to an attendant in the shop, selected fabric, and ordered a chiton, a gown of classic Greek style, to be prepared for the girl by the conclusion of her bath. Returning to the pool, Rin removed her old clothes and settled her body into the warm waters. Mata unbraided Rin's thick hair and encouraged the girl to lay back, allowing the waters to wash over her. Freya, oh Freya, whispered Rin, through what strange journey are you leading me? Chapter 10. When Nkosi returned to fetch Rin, instead of a dirty child of the wild north, a young woman stood clad in folds of flaxen fabric, one shoulder bare, the other draped. Embroidery of blue thread ornamented the borders of the gown, matching her eyes. A silver bird secured the garment at the shoulder. Leather sandals shod her feet. A corded belt of blue defined Rin's waist. The stone knife was securely hidden in its folds. Rin carried a shawl of gray wool in the crook of her arm. Her hair was oiled and freshly braided. My Lord Barak will be pleased, thought Nkosi. What he said to Rin was, Come, Lord Barak commands me to bring you to the palace tonight. You are to sing for the ruler of this port and his guests. Do well. Make your master and Nkosi proud of you. Nkosi led Rin up paved streets of the city, the houses becoming larger and grander as they ascended the hill. As they walked, Rin meditated on the many lessons Mata taught her. How to walk, how to sit, how to eat. Rin did not want to leave Mata and had told her so. The gods do not ordain that, my dear, said the kind-hearted woman. But if you remember and do what I taught you today, my spirit will travel with you. Following closely behind Nkosi, Rin entered a walled garden. The calming greenery of trees and the heady scent of flowers greeted her. He led her to a side entrance of a grand villa and opened a door into a room of activity. Stay here, sit in that corner. I go to attend Lord Barak. I will come for you when you are to sing. Rin did as she was bid. From her corner, she watched the busy kitchen of the grand house. By watching, she learned. Slaves that did their work quickly were left alone to do their jobs. Slaves that were slovenly were slapped and cursed. Rin resolved to remember Mata's wise words and to consider the drama of life before her. The bustle of the kitchen ebbed and flowed with the passage of the evening. A small girl mutely brought her a tray of food and hurried away. Rin ate slowly, practicing the manners of the women at the bath. After a while, she pillowed her head on her shawl and drifted to sleep. Rin, wake up, ordered Nkosi. Lord Barak calls for you. Perhaps being half asleep was a blessing. Her heart was calm. Her spirit rested. Rin followed Nkosi into a torch-lit room filled with men and women arrayed on couches. The atmosphere of the room was mellow. Wine and food had satisfied the guests' bodies. Now their minds desired something to fill their hearts. While Rin waited beside Nkosi, Barak told his host the story of the girl from the far north. He told him how twice she had screamed and alarmed that saved his life. Then Barak told of the time he first heard her sing. The man urged Barak to tell all the guests the tale as an introduction to the night's entertainment. Accordingly, Barak stood, drawing the attention of the banquet guests. My lord, said Barak, bowing to his host, distinguished citizens and ladies of Malacca, I am honored to be among friends and civilized society once again. You are kind to host me after the difficulties of a northern voyage. During my adventures, I suffered loss, but also acquired a little bird. This bird is in the form of a daughter of a wild tribe from the remote north. This barbarian maiden has saved my life twice. She alerted me to murderous thieves and then plundering fools by squawking like a goose. At that comment, the room erupted in laughter. Barak allowed the room to calm from guffaws to jovial conversation. With a gesture, he gathered all eyes again. Then I learned she can sing like a warbler. She only sings in her native tongue, but I hope you will find it as haunting and sweet as I have. Nkosi poked Rin. Lord Barak wants you to sing. Go. Remembering the teachings of Mata, Rin walked with a measured step to the center of the room. For a moment, she gathered her courage and her breath. Then she sang. She sang of the north, of the forests, of the river, and of home. She sang of the fires of the winter hearth and the flowers of the summer fields. Her heart soared with her voice as she remembered the songs her mother taught her. When she could think of no more, Rin ended with a lullaby Mor sang to all her babies. There was a hush in the room as the songbird stood silent, her eyes and arms lifted to the ceiling. As if in a trance, guests and slaves held their breath. For a golden moment, silence reigned. I'll give you 500 for her right now, rang out a drunken male voice. Ridiculous, spouted another. 800, no, 1,000. One loud voice overpowered the next. The magic of Rin's performance was shattered by a bidding frenzy for a slave girl. Barak glanced at Nkosi. With a jerk of his head, he commanded the African to leave and take Rin with him. Nkosi understood and obeyed. A black hand closed around Rin's arm and hurried her away. Trouble? Rin asked. No. Lord Barak is pleased with you. Thank you for listening. To hear more of the story, please come back soon, or you may purchase your own copy on Amazon. Just follow the link below. Until next time,